Angebelisco here, proprietor and operator of amateur radio station W1GV, Whiskey 1, Good Vibrations. Here to describe something that I did not know about until just yesterday, after 50 years as a radio amateur, and I didn't know that such a thing as the Pedersen Ray existed in radio wave propagation. Now, why they call this a ray rather than a wave or Pedersen propagation is just one of those great mysteries. We have sky wave propagation, we have ground wave propagation, surface wave propagation, but the Pedersen Ray, well, whatever the mystery behind all of that is, you probably should know about this if you want to know what you need to know to pass the amateur extra class theory exam these days. So much for the idea of dumbing down ham radio since my time. If anything, they've made people smarter, or they're making people smarter. Of course, that doesn't ask for much. But a typical F-layer radio wave, and here are the ionospheric layers, the D layer, the E layer, and the F layer, which is where most of the action takes place in sky wave propagation. A typical sky wave will go from a transmitting station to the F layer and be refracted back to the Earth to the receiving station. So you have your transmitter, your receiver, and your radio wave, which propagates like that. That's a typical sky wave hop. They call this a single hop. In order to get around the entire globe and work dx on the other side of the Earth, you usually need several hops, sometimes upwards of 6 or 7 or 8 of them, maybe even 10 of them, and that each hop creates a little bit of loss in your signal, and your signal gets a little weaker. That's why somebody in China usually sounds weaker than someone in, say, Hawaii, if you happen to live in the black holes of Dakota Territory, United States of Antipodes, not antipodes, but antipodes. A current node exists in an antenna, and a current antinode exists. Not an antinode, but an antinode. But an antipode is a point on the exact opposite side of the Earth from where you are, which presumably is called a pode. I'm being a little facetious, but what I'm really getting at is, what the heck is this Pedersen Ray? Well, this is a typical occurrence of F-layer propagation, but when you have a Pedersen Ray, the transmitted wave goes up just like usual. But for some reason or another, it sort of gets hung up in this F-layer for a while before finally going back down and reaching a receiving station at a more distant point. Or, if you're not so lucky, it'll go off into space instead. But a Pedersen Ray gets stuck in the ionosphere for a while, in much the same way as a ray of light gets stuck in a graded index optical fiber. And I will maybe make a video about a graded index optical fiber before very long, because it put that seed in this brain of mine. This brain that learned just a couple days ago the proper pronunciation of antipodes, and just yesterday, that'd be December 7th, 2015, what this Pedersen Ray is. Well, I claim to be an extra class licensee, so I'd better know now what the Pedersen Ray is. I'd never heard of it for 50 years. Wow. This comes from a website, by the way, with an excellent instructor, an absolute model of instructor beauty, if you may call it aesthetic beauty. Just a great presentation, and a great set of presentations he has to offer. I'll try to get a link to his site and put it in the description of this video. But meanwhile, I think I've yammered enough so that you know what the Pedersen Ray is. And then you also know, if you're a radio ham, what 73 means. And you also know what so long means. Of course, it means da-da-da-da-da-da.